Melissa Carnevali is in a world of pain at the moment, so she says, because her 45-year-old husband had a cardiac arrest. Maybe about 6 weeks, it says 5 weeks ago, but of course it'll be probably about 6 weeks now, won't it? He's out of a coma though, but has a brain injury, and she just doesn't believe that he would like to be living this way, and she just guesses that her question is, you know, as she's sort of like asking a question, guidance or whatever here, that will he suffer much longer? But of course, not being too sure how things work in the group or whatever, or if that's I suppose even a question you can ask, I suppose, really. She just sort of expressed apologies there. She's just beside herself with grief, which I suppose you would be, wouldn't you, really? From a personal point of view, we've got some cards here I want to try and use to see what we can get out of the, that's Raven in France, see what they've got to say, the power animal spirits there. See what we can get, what energies we can get, a bit of guidance or something there. I suppose just from a sort of observing it there, I'm so sorry, and whatever, that's and with all the pain, yes, naturally. The first point that she's clearly made there is that after what's happened, although he's out of a coma, it's left him with this brain injury. She doesn't believe he would like to be living this way. I don't believe he would like to be living this way. You've said there, Melissa, sorry. It's Melissa Carnevali, that. Did I say Melissa? You don't believe he would like to be living this way. I have a visual impairment, and when you're kids or even youngsters or even now, if I go around to see certain members of the family and their friends are over, they'll say, "Does he take sugar?" And he's yes, or whatever. It's not a case of he's there fucking asking. So even the most sort of, I suppose, normal of us, if there's such thing as normal, even though that's in a sort of normal situation, can find people patronising. And I suppose this is a does he take sugar moment, isn't it? I believe he wouldn't like to be living this way. I think maybe that's because you believe that you wouldn't like to be living like that yourself. And personally, I wouldn't. I've got a friend who said if ever she said something a few years ago, if ever she, you know, went down with Alzheimer's or whatever, she'd top herself. And sadly, it's happened, and she hasn't. Maybe you don't know. Like I say, you can't, I suppose, assume what people are thinking. It's understandable the way you feel the way you do, and the way you sort of project what you know your assumptions and things. But how do you know that maybe he did feel that way, but now he is that way? That maybe he might feel there's hope that things could get better, and probably might regret maybe telling you over a cup of tea one night or something. You don't know. it's nice to think if there's anything left there, which I'm sure there is, he's just having trouble communicating it. A lot of time it's just having they're there, but it's just having the trouble to articulate yourself, isn't it? It's a barrier, like locked-in syndrome sometimes. It's a similar thing, isn't it? I'm not a medic, so I can't say. So you're just guessing your question, will he suffer much longer? As if you sort of, yes, want him to be released from whatever he's suffering from, which is understandable. But I suppose if you can hear you saying that you love him and whatever, and all this, you know, that's Crow. I don't know if you heard that. Yes, we know we're supposed to be using these cards, so I'm going to use them then. That's the signal to say shut up. He's saying shut up and get on with it. I think that's what Crow is saying, isn't he? So we'll take the hint and we'll get these cards shuffled and we'll just see what Spirit has to say. But that's just my opinion, given the fact that I have a so-called disability or visual impairment or whatever, and you're treated like a leper, aren't you? And you've got a zit on your face and everything changes, you know. And that's just for the sort of minor sort of issues, you know. And of course, when we having seizures and things like that, of course that makes you've got a mental illness. That's it. You're dead. You're done for. So you can't think for yourself or anything. You're just non compos mentis. People just assume that. That's why you keep your mouth shut about certain things. And maybe that's probably why you're trying to keep quiet, maybe over certain things as well. And I suppose that's what makes it hurt so much, doesn't it? Because you can't share the good times that you're having anymore, because the bad times are just too much to people will just say, oh, what a shame, and and maybe you made people have deserted you, all sitting on the fence with you, I don't know. Anyway, regardless of that, I just say fuck the bastard lot of them, and if you've got friends in Los Angeles, fuck them and all. But that's my opinion. People with friends like that, you don't need fucking enemies, do you? Let's just see if what the cards have to say, though. Seriously, we'll give these cards a shuffle, and as we shuffle, because we're really asking for guidance for you more than him, aren't we? Really, to some degree. So let's see what that's Carnevali there. As for the truth on behalf of Melissa Carnevali, concerning this issue that we've been discussing, and of course at the signal of Crow, we ask for now for guidance, and we ask for this guidance in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to Raven and all the power animal spirits who guide, heal and protect. And we just cut the deck like that, Melissa, and then we just move it to the side here. I say blessed be to Raven because Stephen Farmer, who did these cards, Doreen Virtue's other half, he did it with Raven in mind, with Raven's energy. So I thought, yes, if we just sort of give thanks to Raven and all his friends, as you would say, it's as near as damn it as to swearing, sort of honouring the energy that's impregnated with the intent that they were created, I suppose. And of course the Raven is the carrier of souls from darkness into light, isn't he? Like the Crow, same Corvus, whatever you call them there. The same sort of thing, and you know, he would just give us a shout from outside there. Got the back door open and the front door, trying to let the air through at the minute. It's a bit warm. Let's I'm going to pull out 3 cards initially, just to see what guidance there is here on offer for you concerning this issue. we've sort of like gone in depth, and I've sort of given an opinion on it from how I might feel about it. But I suppose really it isn't how we feel about it to some degree. It's what it is and what we can. Of course, the feelings are affecting us much. It is a bit what's it just to project our opinions onto others and assume what other people are thinking, and that's when it gets dangerous, because that's when people end up having things done to them under duress. They might sign the will over and end up being taken to Switzerland to have themselves done in or something like that. And that was the fear of the assisted dying policy over here in the UK. There's that much fear about old people being sort of coerced into doing it and bumping themselves off so they can get so the kids can get the cash off them, get the money off them. It's a sort of grey area, isn't it? Notice here we've got the possum. I don't know if you can see that. We've got the possum, and the possum, of course, is a four-legged spirit, and the four-legged spirits, they walk the earth, so they are thought to protect, aren't they? And I suppose the protection that the possum sort of offers is the idea of a backup plan. Always have some sort of backup plan. Because although you may have the plan that you've got now, or the opinion or the mindset that you've got right now, nevertheless is there a backup plan if all of a sudden there's a sudden improvement. You don't know what's going on, you don't know how the brain might rewire itself, you don't know what's going on. It's early days, isn't it, and you don't know what's going on. For as much as they might say, oh well, diddle-a-day-da-day, that's not going to work, that's not going to work. All sorts of things can happen, can't it? Even with like seizures and epilepsy, as I was mentioning earlier. For some strange reason, cannabis oil can sort of do something. Regardless of ignorant politicians who think they should legalise recreational cannabis and think they're getting on some bandwagon to appease the rest of the voters or whoever it is they're trying to appease. But also think of cancer as well. You never thought you could cure cancer, but by removing as much cancer cells as possible and taking the antibodies and literally taking the antibodies out of the body to regroup and to train them to attack the cancer cells, and re-injecting those antibodies back into the body again, it kills off the rest of the cancer cells, and you can't believe it. And you'd think that'd be the first thing they tried, wouldn't you? But it's so obvious sometimes the answer, you never think of it. So all these sort of things can happen, and you think, oh, you know, after all these years of trying with technology and trying, or sometimes the simplest things work. And of course, with that immunotherapy thing with cancer, that's a tailor-made thing. So of course, with the locked-in syndrome and things like that, people suddenly wake up, don't you? Or the brain rewires itself to sort of cope and adapt to it, even if you might be left with a limp or something like that, or maybe something more serious or whatever. Nevertheless, the brain might rewire itself so you can try and communicate with you in some way. And however basic or attempted normality that communication is, it's still communication, it's still him, isn't it? I don't know, of course, the condition he's in, but the fact that he's saying have a backup plan. Are you prepared for a sudden wake up, or for a sudden, I suppose you can say a miracle, really, if you want to perceive it that way, but are you prepared for that? Although you're sitting back and saying, oh well, if only he could just end and he could be put out of his misery and tra-la-la-la-la-la, and I'd assist him and smother him with a pillar, or take him to Switzerland or something like that. Are you prepared for a sudden recovery or sudden improvement then? A significant improvement that might be life-changing. Not, of course, nothing gets back to normality as it was, but are you prepared for that? This is saying have a backup plan in case it happens. Now, nobody's saying it will happen. Of course, But it seems as though Spirit is saying be prepared for it. And if Spirit is saying be prepared for it, then you just don't know what the crack is around the corner, do you? I just want to move on now, really, and I want to just see what the next card is. I want to just see what else is being said here. I'm just going to flip the card nice and slow again, out of respect for Spirit, out of respect for Raven Brother and his friends. Let's just see what's going on here. You've got rabbit, and that's to do with fertility, isn't it? Is it fertility? Yes, it is. And it's just really saying it's about your creativity. Right now, your creativity is at a peak. Now, of course, I'm sort of trying to think here, which is dangerous, isn't it? But if your creativity is at a peak, does that mean your imagination might be as well? And you're thinking creatively, and you're thinking too hard, maybe. If you've got to have a backup plan, then of course, with your creativity being at a peak, you should be maybe creative in some way. Maybe, I don't know, say for example, some people communicate with a board with letters on, and they look at the board, or you go along the bloody letters of the alphabet and they blink once if it's A, and then you go A, B, C, D, E, and then whatever, and then they'll blink again according to what letter you've said. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's anything, because I don't know your situation. It could be dire for you, of course. It sounds terrible, but I'm just thinking, what's your backup plan here? With your creativity being at a peak right now, clearly, I suppose it would be really, because you're prepared to sort of help out in some way. You're desperate to try and do something, and that's not a bad thing, is it really? So that can, and of course rabbit represents abundance as well, and represents good luck in some ways. We have like rabbit's foot and things like that, don't you? Keep one in your purse or something like that, I don't know. But it's that sort of thing, isn't it? But of course rabbit obviously is timid, but nevertheless can protect you. There's four-legged ones again. They're protecting you right now. Maybe your creativity is protecting you, stopping you from giving up. For as bad as things are, and for as bad as you feel about it, nevertheless, it's stopping you from giving up, because you're thinking just maybe it's something I can do. There's something he can probably do as his brain rewires, or as something, maybe a development later down the line comes, or whatever. But for now, you've got to try and do what you can do. In a sense, I suppose even people have probably said to you, remain strong for him. I don't know. As I said, I don't know the situation on regards to him, but I'm just trying to just sort of see and sort of search what's going on here, which could be completely wrong, I don't know. But we just assume that Spirit, we trust then that Spirit is there in some capacity or other. Let's just flip the next card over. And again, more four-legged spirits here. The wolf. The wolf is the guardian, isn't it? Just really saying that you're safe and protected at all times. So don't sort of panic or do anything stupid, I suppose, really, I don't know. But have a backup plan. The main thing is have a backup plan. And from that, with your creativity being at a peak right now, I suppose we should be doing it past, present, future, in that sort of timeline sort of thing, where we go along in a row here, don't we? I suppose to some degree, if you can see that there, in the sense of maybe you've had a backup plan, or you should have a backup plan. It's just really giving guidance in three sentences or phrases. A bit like those mediumship cards do, isn't it? A bit like how Spirit speaks through those cards. Spirit speaking through you in not necessarily past, present, future, but just in this sort of order, and just the sense of just have a backup plan. Because right now or whatever, because your creativity is at a peak, and you'll be safe and protected at all times due to that. I want to pull out another card here. I just want to pull out just to see what's going on, what else might be said as well. It's one thing to say, well, we're protected and Spirit protects all the four-legged spirits there, Possum brother, Rabbit brother, and Wolf brother there. But what else is going on here? Yeah, more protection, Bear brother. This is about boundaries, isn't it? Really, Bear. In certain respects, he can represent victory in some regards, but more about boundaries. Stand your ground. It's just saying here. That's what Bear brother is sort of saying there. Stand your ground. Have a backup plan. Your creativity is at a peak right now, so just know that you're protected at all times. Nevertheless, stand your ground. Know your boundaries. You know, don't. That doesn't mean give up. That doesn't mean if at first you don't succeed, give up. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means know your boundaries. Suppose that's what your expectations are from it, and although of course other than you don't expect anything positive much to be coming out of it right now, don't expect too much negative to come out of it neither. Know your boundaries of the negativity that you're expecting as well. Maybe it might not be as negative as you think it is. Just know your boundaries. Know your limits. But stand your ground. If you don't, I don't know. Just stand. If there's something you do believe strongly, stand by that. That's easy to say. Well, if you believe he's not going to get well again, well, I'm going to stand by that, and I'll be damned if I do, damned if I don't. But I'm not going to change my opinion on that. It's knowing what your boundaries are. How far your boundaries, in the sense, I suppose, how far do you want to allow them to go? Do you want to allow the healthy boundaries to become unhealthy? Do you want to go over the threshold of having a backup plan in case the best happens, and being creative about it, knowing that that's the thing that may be protecting you right now, the very harvest that hasn't grown yet. You've planted the seed in the field, and the harvest that hasn't grown yet is potentially there. You just can't see because it hasn't happened yet. Are you prepared to throw that all away? So know your boundaries. Don't go over the threshold, I suppose. Stand your ground and say, no, maybe I do believe that things will get better. Because if you go over that boundary, then you're going to give up hope. And that's going to be no good for anybody. Even if there is no hope, as you would say, to that degree, things do remain the same. Nevertheless, do you love him any less for it? Are you prepared to love him any less? Maybe. Stand your ground on that. No, I will still love him regardless of what happens. Regardless of much how I'm sort of hoping that something happens and he's released from it. Nevertheless, I love him. So if he's released and my wish comes true, he's no longer here to me to love anymore. It's a very difficult thing, isn't it? But the Spirit seems to be saying, have a backup plan here. Your creativity is at a peak, in the sense of try and be imaginative about it. Try and think what potentially just could be there. and that could give you an idea of what to plan for. You're protected at all times. You're safe and protected at all times throughout this, regardless. So just know what your boundaries are. Maybe from the, as I said, more the negative thing than anything. Just don't overstep the mark and start to go to places, dark places that would be not so much unhealthy for you. This is not really about you to some degree, although this is your reading. But if you're going to take somebody with you to a dark place, do you have their permission to do that? Are you a mind reader, and do you know what they're thinking? Do you know that they want to go to that dark place with you? I don't know. So this is what you have to do: stand your ground, know what your boundaries are, know what's going on, and know where the threshold is, I suppose. I want to pull another card here. I don't know why, like an overview or something like that, maybe. I don't know what it is. I just sort of sense another card. Just maybe it's just something to add to it. Yeah, more four-leg spirits there, and in this case you've got a squirrel spirit there. That's just to do with preparation, isn't it? And get ready for big changes. So in a way, I suppose there's a sort of warning here, because it's saying have some sort of backup plan. Have a backup plan. Your creativity is at a peak. So you're well prepared to work something out and get something going there in some capacity or other, to put your backup plan in action, or at least to use your backup plan as some hope for the future. You're safe and protected at all times because of this. Know what your boundaries are, because you've got to get ready for big changes. If you overstep the boundaries and do something, or expect something and it happens, or even will it on just by the willpower alone, the energy, the negative energy can will something negative to happen. Nevertheless, with the backup plan and maybe the hope and the protection that you've got, does Wolf Brother protect him more than you? Does he protect both of you? Does he protect you from acting upon your fears or whatever? But know what your boundaries are, because overstep those boundaries and these big changes are probably not going to happen. So in the sense of, know what your boundaries are, know what the threshold is, know where to stop, because when you do stop and the change comes, you'll probably say to yourself, do you know, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I didn't go that far. I'm glad I didn't smother him with a pillar, or give him an overdose, or take him to Switzerland. I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I didn't give myself an overdose and top myself, or shoot everybody and burn the house down before I end up dead myself. You know, you don't have all these sort of things going around in your head. I don't know what's going on in people's heads. I mean, that's being flippant, of course, but it's not funny, is it? But it's the sort of thing that goes through your head when you're in despair, isn't it? What do you do to put people out of the misery, or put yourself out of the misery as well? Because you're in the same sort of misery. This is something you're sharing with them, of course, isn't it? So if you're sharing it, then you've got to go through it together, for richer, for poorer, for in sickness and in health. It's that sort of thing. And if it's the sickness and in health bit, if it's the sickness bit, you've got to do it. You've got to go there, haven't you? Does he take sugar? Well, fucking ask him. And if he can't fucking answer, then find a way of getting an answer. But don't assume that he's a fucking zombie because he can't speak to you. He's probably hearing now and thinking all sorts of things about you. If only he could get up and, I don't know, smack you across the face. You don't know what he's thinking. In that case, are you a mind reader, and does that give you the authority to assume what he's thinking? Or even if he doesn't, or even if he does, have you got a backup plan for sudden changes? These big changes, you've got to get ready. have a backup plan. You've got to have a backup plan because you've got to get ready for big changes. Have you got that backup plan ready for it? Well, what am I planning for? What am I to expect? Well, big changes. Do you know what the boundaries are that you must make sure you don't go over them in case you're protected at all? You're safe and protected at all times, whatever happens here. I'm still tempted to even pull another card, and I really, this is greed, isn't it, really? This is greed personified, really. I want to just pull another card here. This says, this I suppose may answer it in general. The dragonfly of the illusion, representing the problem really as illusion. Delusion, but you certainly, there's an illusion of an impression that's given that you probably giving yourself that isn't true, when really dragonfly says to you, you know who you really are and you know what you're capable of, and if you know who you are, a man and wife as one flesh, you know who he is as well, and you know who you are in the sense of you, as in both of you. You know who you really are. And you're worth more than this. You're worth more than the negative thoughts. You're worth more. You're worth a backup plan. You're worth the creativity to try and work a way through this. If you can't get over the bridge, over the river because the bridge is broken or collapsed, then drive 50 miles and find another bridge. It's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? And it's that protects you. The fact that there's something just positive there protecting you. You're safe at all times, and just know your boundaries. Just don't go over the limits, either maybe to say something that may upset somebody, or just go over the limits where you might be tempted to do something silly. Because you've got to get ready for big changes. Spirit is saying, get ready for big changes. Big changes are coming in. You don't know, we don't know, I don't know what they are. Spirit does, and Spirit says, get ready for big changes, because although you might not know what they are and you've got an impression of what you think it is, there's an illusion there. There is an illusion being given, an impression given, but it isn't true. That's the problem. And Dragonfly can help retrieve that soul part that is believing the illusion, believing the lie that you're telling yourself. And Dragonfly can say to you, you know who you really are. You know you're worth more than this. You're better than to believe something that you don't know if it's true or not. And it's when you suddenly start thinking that with that yes, I know who I am, I'm better than this, tra-la-la-la-la, that's when Dragonfly will have retrieved that soul part that was missing and reunited, I suppose, that part of you with yourself again, and you've been healed, haven't you? When you realise there's a backup plan, when you do realise that there is creativity there, when you do realise that you're protected because of it, and it protects him as well, and you're his rock, you've got to be strong, haven't you? And when you realise, when you do sort of stand your ground and say, no, I won't allow that to be done to him, or I won't allow you to do this or that, when you do accept that you've got to get ready for big changes, and when you do get ready for big changes, be prepared. The Scout motto, isn't it? And then of course, because I know who I am, I know who we are, I know who we were, and he doesn't change anything because things have got worse, because somebody's gone down with a cold or gone down with the flu, he doesn't make us any less. So because somebody's had a cardiac arrest and it's done something to the mind or the brain, doesn't mean we're not there. It just means we probably can't articulate ourselves. But it doesn't make us less of a human being. It doesn't make us less of what we are. It's nice to believe that it does. It's nice to believe that it does, so we can rid ourselves of it by thinking that, well, he wouldn't want to be living like this because I wouldn't, so assume that he wouldn't. Don't go assuming. One must not assume. That's the illusion. Just realise that you know who you are, and you know that you're worth more than this, and that you're better than that. and it's with that that something is going to happen, and you've got to get ready for it. As we said, just like with the cancer example, who would have thought that somebody dying of terminal breast cancer would be cured by their own antibodies, and the cancer would be turning into sort of calcium, and the antibodies were killing it off? You wouldn't think it. You were terminally ill, for God's sake. You don't know what's round the corner. But then again, is that just being deluded and just hoping for something that won't happen? It might be. But then again, there's always the chance it might not, because you know who you are, and you know that you're worth more to expect something, or to at least believe in something more than that. And to recite the mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum. May the dew of the eternal lotus shine upon the world. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. Just by saying that, you can, the Om Mani Padme Hum, you can know that something will happen. I'm only going by what the cards say, what spirit has influenced the cards with. What you do is what you do, but please, whatever you do, spirit won't say anything that will harm you. Spirit won't do anything to hurt you and harm you in any way, and won't sort of put you on a negative path. So if you're thinking in some way there's a negative hint here, forget it. That's you. That's the illusion. That's you just lying to yourself. You know who you really are, and you know that you're better than that, because you are you. The thing that's telling you that it isn't really you. It's just a part of you, maybe. It's a side of you, or it's just something that you want to be because you can't accept that you're better than that. You can't accept because it's happening to you. Well, it's happening to me. I clearly don't deserve. You do deserve better. It's just something bad happens. How do you know what the good is if you don't know what the bad is? And it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's that contrast. Anyway, I hope that's... notice there the green of the heart chakra. I just sort of locked onto that. I don't know why. I hope that's been of some use to you, and let's keep us posted on what happens. But for now, Melissa, just for now, these cards have spoken.